Welcome to the Brent Weinbach podcast. My name is Brent Weinbach, and did you know that toupees are making a comeback? I just found out about this. Toupees, hair pieces, they're coming back. Not with older people. Young people are wearing hair pieces, even if they're not bald. Or even if they don't have any bald spots, they are wearing pieces to just wear them. They apparently, there's a thing people do now. They go to the pubic hair salon and they have all their pubic hair shaved off, and so that way they can put different sorts of, and they glue different hair pieces on their crotch area. And they could do punk rock style. They can have Liberty spikes that are pre-spiked, so you don't have to spike it. I guess so it's the convenience of not having to spike it every morning. You can just, your pubic hair can be spiked automatically when you wake up. Or they have curly red, curly style, clown style, so that you can sort of always be ready for the ball. And the Juggalo's ball, that is. And there's lots of different styles. You can glue straight hair, straight blue hair. You can make your penis look like it's anime. If you want to have an anime penis, you can glue a blue straight-haired wig to it, and it looks like a cartoon, a Japanese cartoon. If you want your penis to look Japanese and animated, you just do this process. And you do it all at the pubic hair salon. But no, seriously though, this is real. There is really a thing where people are wearing wigs and they don't really need to, but they're doing it because maybe they think it looks good or something. And I guess it's sort of in the same realm as getting a weave or something like that. Is that what it's called? No, not a weave. Is that the same thing as getting an extension? Getting extensions, that's a thing. But my friend told me that he met this guy, and the guy's young, okay? He might even be in his 20s. I'm not sure. And he shaves his head. He goes to the salon. They shave his head kind of like as if it was a mohawk, but the reverse of a mohawk. So just sort of they do a front strip. They do the landing strip on sort of in the front, but it's the reverse landing strip, I guess you could say. So imagine that. And then they glue a hairpiece to that section. What's the reason? Something about that it's just a way to maintain, I don't know, maintain a certain look or something like that, that the hair is sort of already done and he doesn't have to do anything to it or something like that. I don't know. But he's not covering up any baldness though. That's the main point. It's almost a way to kind of just freeze his hairstyle so that it's, it's consistent, I guess. And if you ever stop doing this, then he would have to commit to have a bald strip for a little while until that grew back, I guess. But anyway, apparently this is a normal thing. People are doing this now. And I just think that's really interesting. I never heard about that. I never heard of such a thing. The closest thing I heard of was hair extensions, they sew the hair into your scalp. They stick it in your scalp, apparently. You need to undergo a procedure to have it taken out. It's pretty crazy how that is, huh? And I guess if you run your fingers through somebody's hair, you can't really do that so much with the extensions if you want to do that. But I wonder how well you can run your fingers through the glued hair. It is interesting to have glue on your head. I think I would have a bad reaction to glue on my head. My body rejects things like that, I mean, I had to glue a mustache to my to my face once, and my face rejected it. In fact, it rejected it so much that it actually that part of my face got angry. It got all red and stuff, and it was irritated. It was irritated by the glue. So I try to stay away from glue on my face or my head or any part of my body, really. I mean, I don't know. Maybe if I have, really intense diarrhea, and I'll get to that in a little bit, I might have to glue my butt cheeks shut just to make it through the day. But no, I try to stay away from glue because my body doesn't like such a thing. And, I think that it's not just glue that my body doesn't like, but I have worn wigs before. One time I wore a long-haired wig. It was kind of long hair. It was, let's say, Michael Jackson length. I had a Michael Jackson length wig on, black, and my scalp got angry. It was getting all red and irritated, and it was like that for days. I mean, my scalp was upset with me for days. So I don't know. There was some sort of negative reaction that my scalp had. I don't know if it was I feel like it might have been, it was either the hair, which was synthetic, or it was the net that holds the hair. Maybe the net, I think, might have been organic. I think it was an organic net, and so that was causing some sort of reaction. I get reactions to stuff. My body reacts to things. My body doesn't like Vicks Vapor Rub. It doesn't like it. It gets upset. I tried putting Vicks Vapor Rub on my chest once. This was some years ago. It was probably 20 years ago. And I want to say it's probably the camphor. You know camphor? Camphor. There's 4 cams. There's cam 1, cam 2, cam 3, and cam 4. Sometimes you know them as A, B, and C, and D. But, it's preferred to cam 4. It doesn't like... It can do a 3-camera shoot, my chest, okay? My chest, but when it comes to that 4th camera, it just thinks that's overdoing it. That's too much exposure, It doesn't like all that. It likes a little bit of privacy, and that 4th camera is just a little too much. Camphor is some sort of, ingredient that's in Vicks Vapor Rub. I mean, there's 3 ingredients, basically. I think it's menthol, the stuff that's in cigarettes, and there's eucalyptus, the stuff that's, the noozles eat. The noozles, right? You ever watch Nick Jr.? Noozles are koalas, I think, and I think that's what they are. They're koala bears. And koalas eat that stuff, eucalyptus. They love it. I don't think I have a problem with eucalyptus or even menthol, but camphor is the other ingredient. I don't know what it's made out of. It might be some sort of synthetic thing. I might just reject synthetic things. Glue is kind of synthetic in it. And you know what? Maybe that net wasn't organic after all. It probably was a synthetic net. So anyway, I could never do that, wear the hairpiece. But you know what? Hey, if it makes people happy, they like what they do, good for that. It just seems interesting to me. It seems like a lot of trouble, really, I guess it's a lot of trouble to have the perfect do. I mean, that's what it's all about, ultimately, is having the perfect do and having it be maintained for a month. You have imagine having the perfect do for a month. I mean, I guess that's kind of nice, but I don't know if it's worth the glue. To me, it's not worth the glue to maintain the perfect do. But I wonder if he ever changes it up ever and, does put something funky on there. I mean, imagine putting just a white piece on there. If he has black hair, I'm assuming. Or I don't know what kind of color hair he has, but let's say he has dark hair, black hair. Put a white stripe, he could look like a real skunk. Imagine that could be a whole persona, the skunk. Let's say the guy's name is Richard. Let's say his last name is Jenkins. I don't know what his name is. I'm just making it up. Richard the Skunk Jenkins. I mean, now that could be the perfect do. But anyway, that's an interesting thing. By the way, there is a such thing as a pubic wig. I mean, that does exist. Sometimes people wear that in show business when they don't want to show their vagina lips, because most people in the entertainment or most actresses and actors, most of them have shaved genitals, and if they want to cover their genitals up, they use what's called a pubic wig so that they can be more decent on camera. If they have to shoot a bottom half shot and they're not wearing anything to cover their privacy, they might have to put a pubic wig on there. I think those ones are probably just clip-ons. I think they just clip them on. You usually just clip them onto one of the vagina lips, or if it's a penis, you just kind of clip the whole penis on if it's small enough. And most show business penises are pretty small because they don't want to, they don't want to be unprofessional and get big on the, when they're shooting a scene or whatever. They want to stay professional and keep it small. Otherwise it might freak people out. The cameraman might, I don't know, he might have a freak out. And that brings me to this. And I didn't even mean it to bring me to this, but I did. I went to this elevated Mexican restaurant in Oakland, California. I was with my sister and her husband and her son, who's my nephew. And we were over there, and what's the connection to getting boners? Okay, just wait. I was just so happy that I had a boner. No, I was there, and my nephew made friends with this girl who was at the table next to us. There was a lot of kids there. It was a madhouse. I'd never seen so many kids. It was crazy. It was just a kid fest. There were kids running everywhere, and they were of all ages. We're talking babies to, young tweens. Actually, I don't even know if there were any tweens there, come to think of it. There might just have been some, whatever. There was kids there of different ages, and so he made friends with this girl, and they kind of went off together, and, I mean, my sister's husband was supervising them, but they were kind of just going off and doing their thing, and I don't know, they seemed to connect. One thing I noticed, I tell you, 4-year-olds are so... They're both 4, both of these kids, and they are just so dirty. Some of these kids. I'm not saying I don't want to say anything negative about anybody, so I'm just going to say hypothetically, I've seen a lot of 4-year-olds just sort of reach into their butt and just dig in there. You got to watch out. Just do not shake hands with a 4-year-old. You got to watch out for that. I'm not saying my nephew did that or even this girl. I'm just saying that I've seen that before in children, and you really cannot shake these children's hands without wearing a glove. You might want to wear a Michael Jackson glove when you shake a kid's hand, not just for safety reasons, but to establish sort of a rapport, based on the legacy of Michael Jackson, and his positive relationship with children. So you got to watch out for that. I was I was observing these kids interacting with each other and connecting, and I did wonder to myself, a lot of people think, at that age, 4 years old, these kids, they're not having a single romantic thought or anything like that. But I was wondering if they were having any sort of thought in that regard, because I know I did at that age. I remember myself at that age, and I know I had romantic thoughts. I didn't really, or maybe it wasn't even necessarily romantic thoughts, but I definitely was turned on at that age by things. In fact, even as early as 3 years old, I would get erections when I was 3, and they weren't just happy-go-lucky erections. Sometimes those erections do exist. I made a joke of it earlier, and I said I was so happy I had a boner the whole time. I have had erections where they are just purely inspired by feeling good and not feeling. It has nothing to do with feeling amorous or anything like that. It's just, you feel happy about stuff or whatever, and you just, and your body just reacts in a positive way, not in a negative way like earlier with all that synthetic stuff. So there are just sort of happy-go-lucky boners. That happens. That's a real thing. But when I was 3 years old and 4, I would get erections when I saw women. When I would look at women, I would be turned on by that. So I know it's possible. I don't think I felt that way about girls my own age. I think it was usually grown women that I had that reaction to. And I told my mom, I actually told her about my erections. I didn't know what they were called erections. I just said, this is true. I said, at the age of 3, I would say to my mom, Mom, whenever, sometimes my penis just sticks out, it just sticks out, and it just sticks out. Do you know what's going on? She said, oh, really? I said, yeah, whenever I, look at a woman and, whenever I look at a woman, basically, whenever I look at a woman in a Target ad for aerobics outfits, or if I'm watching a porno, Mom, when I'm watching a porno on VHS and there's penetration, my body reacts to that. My penis reacts to that. What's going on? I said, whenever I watch Emmanuel in Bangkok, I don't know, I get turned on by that. What's going on with my body, Mom? And she would say, why don't you tell your dad? Oh, well, maybe you should tell your dad about that. Why don't you tell your dad about that? And so she said, tell your daddy. Why don't you tell your daddy about that? She said, what you talking about? This is what my mom said. She said, why are you telling me about that? Go ask your daddy. Why are you asking me like I got a thing like that? Go ask your daddy. That's what my mom said to me. I said, Mom, have you seen... I said, Mom, whenever I watch Emmanuel in Bangkok on, the movie channel or whatever, I get an erection. She goes, Brent. She goes, Brent, why you trying to ask me about that like I got a penis? Do I look like I got a dick? No, look at me when I talk to you. Do I look like I got a dick? Then go ask your daddy. So I said, Daddy, why my dick get hard when I watch Emmanuel in Bangkok? And my dad said, well, son, that's just what bodies do. And I said, really? What about, okay. And I said to my dad, well, have you seen Emmanuel in Bangkok? He said, I think I've probably seen that one. Yes, I have, son. I said, what about Emmanuel 4? Have you seen Emmanuel 4? I said, it's not even out yet. I don't think it comes out for another 10 years, but I think I'm probably going to get an erection for that. Or I think my penis is going to stick out for that one. I think I'm going to get a boner off of that one. I think. And my dad said, oh yeah, I'll have to look out for that one. Thanks for the heads up, son. And okay, I really did actually get erections from looking at Target ads. I really did, truly. Aerobics outfits. We're talking early 80s aerobics outfits, right? And or underwear ads and stuff. You see the Sears catalogs, you see the bras and stuff. And I would respond to that. My body would, my penis would. And I did actually ask my mom about that. And she did say, oh, well, here, maybe you should talk to your dad about that or something like that. And I did, and I don't really even remember what his response was. I think he just said, oh, okay, or something like that. I don't think they got into that. And I just wonder, when I think about it now, I think, what were they thinking? Were they thinking, that's interesting that he's already responding to that kind of stuff at the age of 3? All this to say is that I know that 3-year-olds get boners. Now, I didn't think about girls my own age that way, but I did start thinking about girls my own age by the time I was 5. Okay? So that brings me back to this other thing. I just wonder if I don't know, I wonder if these kids had any sort of romantic feeling. I started to have romantic feelings at the age of 5, but I was having boners from age 3. I wonder if anything like that was going on. I'm not trying to think of my nephew in that way, really, but I'm just trying to say that I'm just wondering if he had any sort of feeling, any kind of attraction or something like that at the age of 4, or if the girl felt that way about him, because I know it's possible. I know that these people think this way. And in fact, come to think of it, when I was 4, my best friend was a girl, and she definitely had romantic feelings about me. She did. I know she did. And in fact, when I was 5, I moved away from that neighborhood. I used to live I lived in the Valley. We lived in North Hollywood, and I remember the last day there, I was sitting on the swing set. Well, it wasn't a swing set; it was a seesaw. We had a little seesaw in the back, and no, what was it? Yeah, it was a seesaw or something like that. And we were sitting on there together, and she said, "Hey, since you're leaving, we should get married," or something like that. She thought I should get married, and I thought, well, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of a lot to take on right now. I mean, it feels like a lot of responsibility to get married. I mean, I feel like, I just feel like that's a little heavy for me right now, is what I said. And I said, maybe we can get married, tomorrow. And she said, well, but you're leaving tomorrow. You're moving neighborhoods. And I said, yeah, you got me there. And anyway, I said, well, look, let's just be in touch. I'll give you a call when I get to my new neighborhood. And by the way, I used the phone back then. That wasn't out of the ordinary. And I said, look, we'll get on the line, we'll get on the horn, and we will work this out. We'll figure out this whole marriage situation, And she seemed satisfied with that answer. So I said, all right, we'll go with that. All right, no big whoop. I might have followed up with a phone call, but I did not bring up the marriage proposal. I just thought, at the time in my life, I just wasn't ready for marriage, I just didn't feel like I was ready for marriage at the age of 5. So I didn't bring it up, and she didn't bring it up. And then we lost touch eventually, but I was thinking about, I thought it would be interesting to try to get in touch with her now, and I don't know, just see what she remembers from the past, and just kind of just talk about old memories. And these are old memories. I mean, these are pre-5. I mean, these are memories from age 4, basically, right? A lot of age 4 memories. And I have a lot of memories from that time, and I want to see how much she remembers. And I don't know, I like old stuff. I like thinking about old times. But anyway, all this to say is that 4-year-old boners is a real thing, and don't forget it, all right? And so I just kind of wondered if there was any kind of love connection at all between my nephew and this random girl. So I think at this place, like I said, it was an elevated Mexican place. The food was good. It was good. I liked the food, but I wonder if I ate something there that caused a problem with me. I don't know. I wonder if I somehow got some sort of stomach bug or something from it, because starting later that night, and certainly, maybe even not that night, but certainly the next day, my bowel movements became different. And I ended up having, and it wasn't exactly diarrhea. It wasn't. But the bowel movements were soft. It was soft, and at times there was an urgency to it. I would feel like I would feel a pain in my stomach, and I would have to go, and I would go, and it was very soft, and so it came out very quickly, but it didn't shoot out like it was a, pee, it would fall out, it was kind of a fallout rather than a shootout. And it was soft, and when I flushed, it sort of, it dyed, all the water would become dyed water. It was a dyed water thing. So it was loose enough to dye the whole bowl, a certain tint of brown or whatever. So I don't know what it was, but I was going to the bathroom a lot, and sometimes it was a situation where I really had to go. And so I was usually going number 2, 5 days a week. So number 2 times 5, that's 10. Sorry, not a week, a day. I was going 5 times a day, number 2, 5 times a day, that's 10 a day. 2 times 5, that's 10 a day. I was going 10 a day. And that's a lot, 10 a day. That's number 2, 5 times a day. I was actually probably going number 1. I mean, this is normal. I was probably doing that at least 5 times a day. So 1, let's say I went number 1 7 times a day. That's 7 plus 10. I was going 17 a day. That's a lot. What I was saying is this was happening for over a week. I was having this sort of kind of half diarrhea kind of thing, Actually, in fact, I went to the tea house. Yeah, I was at the tea house. I went to the tea house at the garden, and I went to the botanical gardens, and they had a tea house there. I did the whole high tea thing. And I do like that kind of food. I really do. I mean, I really like those little mini sandwiches and stuff. I love a cucumber sandwich with some mint in it. That's good. And I like a lot of those tea things. I like clotted creams and things like that. It's good. But when I was leaving that tea house, I just said, I got to go. And I had to stop. I stopped at a boba time, and they had a horrible bathroom there, but I did get to use it for free. I didn't even, patronize the place, but the bathroom was a very disrespectful bathroom. There was no paper towels, and it just was one of those hand dryers, and it was one of those faucets that you had to hold down for the water to come out. What a disrespectful bathroom that was. In cases like that, I usually use the toilet seat covers, but they didn't really have that many. They had a few left, and I had to use those to hold down the faucet, which I did, but I didn't really have anything to wipe my hands with, so it was all kind of haphazard, but I did have to, whatever, I did what I had to do. I won't get into it, but I just thought, this is a bathroom that I don't care, I don't respect this bathroom, is what I thought when I left that place. And it kind of did make me have a negative thought about boba time, that they don't have respectful bathrooms, because that bathroom doesn't respect its users, and when I don't feel respected as a user, I don't respect the bathroom, and I don't respect the establishment. So no disrespect to anybody who works at Boba Time, or if Boba Time himself is watching and you don't like what you're hearing, well, I'm just trying to give you some constructive criticism here, okay? What's crazy about the tea house is they have beautiful women at the tea house. I mean, that just go there. There was women that just, that might be the new spot to go to, actually. I mean, there's some beautiful women there at the tea house. I don't know what they're doing there. They go there by themselves, too. I've seen women by themselves there. I saw one woman by herself, just doing the tea thing by herself. Because I would think that doing the tea thing at a tea house, or doing a high tea, that's kind of a special occasion. But for these women are upper echelon, where this is just this is just normal everyday kind of activities here. You go to high tea. So that's pretty interesting. That's kind of high class, For me, it's a special occasion kind of a thing, because it's kind of expensive. I mean, it's expensive. Those tiny sandwiches, they're more than you'd think they'd be. But I'm glad that my situation didn't kick in while I was on the road. So right after going to that elevated Mexican restaurant that, and by elevated, I just mean there was an upstairs to it. We were hanging out in the upstairs there. That's where all the kids were. It was the madhouse. No, it was nice artisanal type of food. It was good. It was good quality artisanal food, but I think I must have ate something. I'm glad it didn't take an effect while I was on the road. I drove from Oakland, California to Los Angeles, California that night after going to the restaurant, and I'm glad it didn't kick in. That would have been a challenging situation, I feel, because sometimes there's no rest areas in sight for stretches. What do you do if you have to go some sort of diarrhea fusion when you're not near a bathroom? Anyway, I did go to the bathroom at one point. I had to go number one, and it was kind of a weird situation. So I stopped over. I got there to it was a Chevron station, and I went into the store at the Chevron station, and I saw this kind of line. This is at probably, 10 o'clock at night or something. I don't know what it was, maybe 11. There was a sort of a line for the bathroom. It was all women. It was a younger looking kind of woman. She was probably in her 20s, maybe late 20s. And then there were some older women there. And I don't know what was going on, but it seemed as though they were lined up to use the women's bathroom. There was a women's and a men's bathroom. And so I was kind of confused about what was going on. I thought, are you lined up? How many women were there? Maybe 3 women or something. And I wasn't sure if they were what they were lined up for. And I wasn't sure if they were using the men's bathroom also or something like that. Anyway, I was kind of walking towards the men's bathroom to go check it out because it didn't seem like, they were going to use it. And a woman came out of the men's bathroom. And I thought, oh, okay, so they are using this. They're using both bathrooms, these women or whatever. And by the way, I think most of them knew each other, but the one younger one who was in her 20s, I don't know if she knew them or not. Anyway, this woman came out and she said, and I said, "Oh, okay. She said, can I use that? Or that's free? Or can I go in there?" And she said, "Yeah, you could go use that," or something like that. And I said, "Okay." And I go, and then, I don't know, then she made her way to the women's bathroom or something. I don't know what was going on. I go in to the men's bathroom, and as soon as I walk in, there's only one stall. It's basically just a toilet and a urinal. Okay, it's kind of a single-use bathroom, kind of. I mean, there is a stall, but it's just one stall, and the door was fully wide open. And anyway, I walk in, and there is a woman sitting on the toilet, and she has her pants down. I mean, she's going to the bathroom, and her shirt kind of lifted up a little bit. I mean, her breasts were not exposed, but I mean, it was really weird, actually. It was almost like a trick that they played on me. She said, "Oh, you can go in there," and then I go in there, and there's this woman using it. And by the way, these women were probably in their 50s or something like that, They were, I would say something like that. They were probably 50 years old or something, maybe 55 even. And so this woman on the toilet, I said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were in there." I walked back out, but before I did, she was kind of saying, "No, come on in," or something like that. The whole thing was really weird. And I said, "All right." I said, No, it's all right. I'll come out. And then I don't know what happened, but she came out of that bathroom and she said, "You can go in." I was almost expecting there to be another woman magically in there when I walked in again. But I was thinking, what? All right, either there was some kind of miscommunication or they were trying to play a trick on me or something like that. They thought, or maybe the first woman who told me to go in there was playing a trick on her friend. By the way, I don't even know if these people were friends. I think they were family members or something. But she was playing a trick on whoever was in there by having me go in there. So I went in there, and by the way, when I went in there and she was sitting on the toilet, and she had her pants all the way down, she seemed not fazed by that, and she seemed to be totally fine with me to be in there. She seemed to think I should just go to the bath, use the urinal or whatever. Anyway, it was I was confused. Oh yeah, this was part of it too. At first, when the first woman told me to go in there, or that I could use the bathroom, that younger woman who was in her 20s, I asked her first. I said, "Oh, well, do you want to go ahead of me because you're in line?" And she said, "Oh, no, that's all right." I realized now she knew there was someone else in there. And so she was kind of in on it too. She could have told me, well, there's actually someone in there, but she didn't. She just said, "Oh, no, that's all right." So I don't know. This whole thing was very interesting. I've done that before. I've walked in on people a couple times in my life. It's an interesting moment. I think I did that at the hospital kind of recently. Someone didn't lock the door to this. It was kind of a single-use bathroom. I went in there. Someone was just sitting on the toilet, but I went in. I went right back out. They didn't even see me. I think they were just totally in their own zone. And then I did that one time in Berkeley at Laval's. There's this pizza place at Laval's, and I went in the bathroom there. And that one's weird because it's a toilet that doesn't have a door on it. There's just a wall, but you can't see if anyone's in there unless you go past the wall. So you really have to if you go number 2, if you sit down there, you're really going to risk somebody seeing you. I mean, it's going to inevitably happen there. Laval's is set up for you to encounter someone on the toilet. It's kind of part of their business model or something like that. So anyway, that was kind of an interesting, I wanted to get out of there, actually, because I wasn't sure if something sketchy was going on or not. So I kind of peed really quick. I, got out of there, and I just thought that was pretty weird. What was going on there? I don't know. It might have just been some middle-aged women just having a ball, or maybe they were just, I don't know it seemed sketchy. I will say it seemed sketchy to me. But yeah, I made it home without having to go number 2. And then when I was home, I finally did need to go number 2, and it happened. And that's where the action began. And like I said, this diarrhea kind of thing that I had, it lasted for over a week. And I felt like there was some sort of parasite inside of me or something. It felt like something was inside of me that was causing these bowel movements to be weird like this. I mean, we have parasites on us all the time, There's parasites in our eyelashes, I heard, that they go in there and they just sort of hang out on as if your lashes are branches. They're just sort of hanging out on the branch. They're kind of like little birds, and they're on your lashes. Or I think they might be in your eyebrows too, kind of like little birds. And then, of course, I've got a genie that basically I have a little men that are on that sort of cling to my nipples with their teeth. They just bite onto it. They clamp down. Why do people need nipple clamps when they've got little genies that just clamp to their nipples and they grant you wishes? I've got Thomas who needs to pull out sometimes. Do you know about Thomas, right? Thomas was basically the name that we gave. My friend Scott and I came up with this kind of code phrase to go poo, but it was, I don't know if it's kind of a euphemism for going poo, I guess, or something, but it was Thomas needs to pull out. The idea was that there's a man named Thomas, and he's inside of you, and his penis is so big, it's like a log of poo. And when you say, oh, I got to go, Thomas is coming over in a little bit, or Thomas needs to pull out, you would say, oh, well, Thomas, I got to go, Thomas needs to pull out. The idea is that, Thomas would be pulling out his penis out of your butt or whatever. And so it's kind of a euphemism for going poo. And, sometimes if he's angry, if Thomas is angry with you, then he'll be kind of rough with you a little bit, and that will be kind of a rougher bowel movement or be messy, Or sometimes if it's loose, it's kind of like he busted all over the place or whatever. I mean, there's all these different, let's say, euphemisms, for going poo. And I guess in a way, Thomas is kind of a parasite in a way, right? But finally, after about a week and a few days even, I guess it was a week and a half almost, I got this shot. I got a flu shot. And I've been told, the word on the street is that flu shots have, one of the ingredients is eggs. I don't know if you know that, but I think there's supposed to be egg in the flu shot. And my body, my stomach doesn't always react to eggs the best way. In fact, I do have, oftentimes will get diarrhea from eggs. And I had diarrhea the night that I had the shot, and it was different than the bowel movements I had been having prior to that. By the way, leading up to this, the bowel movements had slowed down a bit. I was maybe going, actually they hadn't really slowed down. I take it back. But the diarrhea that I had was different. It was much more like an egg-induced diarrhea, the kind that I'm familiar with already if I eat eggs. I'm pretty sure that was an egg-induced diarrhea. And whatever happened, that diarrhea seemed to wash out the parasite or whatever that was inside of me, I think there might have been a genie inside my colon or something like that, and I think I got the genie out. Because after that night, it was completely gone. In fact, I was constipated after that. I became constipated. I'm dried up. I mean, this stuff was loose, and now it's just dried up. Although it is kind of mucusy in a weird way. But I'm afraid I'm going to give myself a hemorrhoid. I've been pushing too hard because I'm so used to... at this point, I was used to going poo 5 times a day and it coming out really easily. And now I'm so used to that lifestyle that I'm pushing too hard because I feel like I need to get something out. I think what it is I drain myself. And so now there's just little pebbles, remnants, they're just the remains. It's just kind of ancient remains that are still in there. I think I swear that's what it looks like. It's only been, I don't know, a few days now, and the poo looks ancient. It looks like ancient remains. I'm just totally serious here. It looks like this poo had been in there for a long time, and I think it's because everything got cleared out. I think I had a full clearance. I think I had full-on clearance with whatever I ate. I'm glad it's over, and I'm looking forward to getting back to some regular loafs. And I don't know what I had. I didn't have any other kind of symptoms, I didn't have any kind of fever, and like I said, the diarrhea was never just a full-on faucet. I don't know what it was, but I think I picked it up from that elevated place. So, I don't know, it's been a loose week, and now it's pretty dry, but I have I got some phone messages here. I'm kind of backed up on phone messages. I'm going to get to maybe a couple phone messages in the extended version of the episode. And then I'm going to get into another thing that I'll tell you about when I get there, but it's, I'm going to get into some audio visual stuff. We're going to listen to a song and sort of different iterations of it, and there's gonna be some visuals involved, and yeah, I think I'll try to tackle a couple answer machine messages. If you do want to leave any messages in the future, you can call 213-207-6952, and I usually we'll answer them in the extended portion of the show. So if you want to, but I was originally going to do it on the main part of the show, but I feel as though we're kind of out of time. I mean, maybe I'll do one. I could maybe do one message. All right, I'll tell you what. Fine. Nah, I'll save it for the other thing because I have to kind of reset a little bit and put the headphones on and stuff. If you want to carry on with me, go to patreon.com/poundcast, POUNDCAST. And that's where you get all the extended versions of the episodes. And not just that, there's the Poundcast episodes are there too, okay? Extended versions. And you also get the episode a couple days early, because I know some of you just can't wait till Friday. You need to get it on Wednesday. And really, it's Tuesday night is when it really comes out. It comes out at midnight Tuesday night, Pacific time. So, I know you want that. I know you want it. So come on and get it. Go to patreon.com/poundcast. Now, if you want to watch video of this show, you can go to youtube.com/Brent Weinbach podcast. Okay. And thank you to Jack Birch for his help behind the scenes. And yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to wrap up this episode. And yeah, again, I'm going to do some messages in the extended, maybe just a couple. There's actually kind of a lot. I'm kind of backed up. I got to get to those. I'll try to get to them on the next episode as well. But yeah, messages and then this other thing. So I'll see you there. Otherwise, we'll see you next week. My name is Brent Weinbach. This is the Brent Weinbach Podcast. Bye-bye.